we really? Oh,
Yeah.
oh well.
Here, I've got my friend Julie Lessman who has joined me for today, and she's perfect because she writes these wonderful Irish characters and family sagas that start in World War One, go World War Two. You said you have like what 10, 11 books with the O'Connors
About
now?
there's going to be six, seven, eight, eight of them. Well,
Yeah, which is
eight
so
novels, but there's a lot of novellas too. So
yeah, which is awesome. So yeah, now people are finding us. Yay! So Julie, could you just quickly reintroduce yourself so that people can know a little bit more about what you write and try not to be too jealous that you're in Florida right now.
okay, I lost you because my there we go. Um, I'm Julie Lessman, and I write. Well, I started out writing historical romance, and then I flipped to contemporary, and then I actually did a Western series, historical, and now I just finished. I mean, last year, a World War II book. That's a continuation of the O'Connors, which is the Irish family saga that I love. They're like family to me.
Yeah, well, and they should be after this many books. It's amazing when you get to know characters as deeply as you do for your writing. It really
Mhm.
makes a difference. They do become like family as you're
They really do. They
continuing
really
just to kind of build out that story and everything. So, um, we were talking about how, I mean, you've written historical, you've written cowboy, country, Western,
do. Yeah.
contemporary. And so we were talking about how you got started. And you said it all tied back to Margaret Mitchell and Gone with the Wind.
Oh, yeah. When I was 12, I read Gone with the Wind. I was a romance freak right out the gate because when I was like 8, I used to sneak down and watch all the romance movies when my parents were sleeping. You know, I just loved them. And then I even wrote my own little book, but it was, my mom didn't like it because I also drew pictures and I had the men and women kissing. I was a pretty good artist at 8, believe it or not, and she didn't like that at all. But when I was 12, I read Gone with the Wind, and I just flipped out. I went, oh my gosh. So I decided that I was going to write my own, and I wrote 300 pages
Oh,
of what ended up being my debut novel some 40 years later, A Passion Most Pure. And
and
go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, and A Passion Most Pure, I'm still stunned it came out in 2008 because it's such a vivid memory for me just reading it. And such a great book right out of the start. But I'm so impressed that as a 12-year-old, you're writing a 300-page book.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Oh, I really like to write. I did that because I needed the romance. And then when I got older, of course, I stopped writing because I had the romance. So,
Yeah.
but then I picked it up
Awesome.
in my 50s. It's funny. I looked down on romance for so many years because I was a career woman and I thought, oh, who reads romance, And in my 50s, I felt like God spoke to me and said, you love romance. I've gifted you with that. Why are you shunning it? Suddenly I just didn't care. Suddenly it was what I wanted to do. And I remember I was in a beauty salon and I was reading a Newsweek cover article. It was back on 2001, and it was when Passion of the Christ came out and all that, and Christian books, movies, and music just were going through the roof. It was a 10-page cover article about
Yeah.
that. And I'm reading this, and something in my spirit said, now is the time to finish your book. So a month later, I started writing A Passion Most Pure, that I
Yeah.
had the skeleton, and that's basically how it started.
That's
So,
awesome. So we've got people like Mary Ruth is from New Jersey and Linda
hey
and
guys.
Shirley and Corky from Houston and Linda from Minnesota. But what I want to know is how many of you who are watching also got hooked on Gone with the Wind? Because as a teenager,
Mhm.
now Turner Classic Movies had just come out, and I remember just watching all of the how they made Gone with the Wind
Yes.
and just being captivated by the movie. I can tell you so much ridiculous trivia, like they started filming without a Scarlett, and then Vivian O'Lee comes to the burning of Atlanta and he goes, "There's my Scarlett," with a British accent. And just the whole thing. And there's something about that story that I just think is so, I don't know why, but it's because I don't want to live during the Civil War. I mean, what an awful, terrible thing.
Yeah.
And yet, oh, Joy's never seen it. And
Oh my goodness.
it's such a long movie, but I love it. It's still
Me
one of my
too.
favorite movies of all time. And I think there's a timelessness to it.
Well, how many romances win a Pulitzer Prize? Come on.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, really.
That's true.
And I do have a cute story about Gone with the Wind. I had never seen it back then. The movie came out every 7 years. You're too young to remember that, but I had not seen it. And it came out again when I was 16. Well, I was going to a Catholic girls' school,
Yeah.
and my friends, I just said they were going to do a free showing for the religious community down at the Fox Theater in St. Louis and give out free popcorn and soda. I just went ballistic, and I said, I have to go. I have to go. So my friend had a sister who was in the convent, who was a novice. So she got us nun habits. And we dressed up as nuns and I'm sitting there as a nun, sitting there shoving popcorn in my mouth and just mesmerized. But the downside of it was when we were walking out into the lobby after it was over, we ran into the nuns from my school. And oh my gosh, I got in so much trouble, but it was so worth it. But after that, they thought I wanted to be a nun, and I'm like, no, no, I'm a romance writer. I'm not a nun.
It's hysterical. I think I did see it in the theater once as an adult when it was like coming back out for one of
Yes.
those releases. And it is just so fun. But I don't know, we all think we want our Ashley and we're like, wait, but there's this other guy who's
Yeah.
actually
Oh,
right back. And
he was hubba hubba, let me tell you.
yeah. And Linda's like, as a kid, I thought it was too long, but it allowed for more time for movie theater snacks, which is true. When you have
Yeah.
to have an intermission at the movie theater, it's either a Peter Jackson extended version movie or it's Gone with the Wind. But it's
Yeah.
probably just one of those options.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Rachel's like, I just want to smack Ashley. Yeah. A lot that I never quite understood the appeal.
No, me either.
Reading the book, because there's so much that's cut out from the book, and thank God, or it'd be a 20-hour movie. Um,
Exactly.
and then it was like there's this resurgence in the 90s and early 2000s where you had these add-ons and Scarlet, what happened next? And then I'd never made the connection that a Passion Most Pure had that kind of a feel to it.
It
Maybe that's
does.
why I love that book so much.
I remember your sister and
Yeah,
when I first met you, you guys just blessed the socks off of me because you were just really excited about the book, and I was brand
yeah.
new, so that was exciting for me too. So,
Absolutely. Now, as we've got, oh, Linda's like, and Scarlett needed to be smacked too. There
oh,
were moments.
like my charity in the book, I have a Scarlet in my book.
Yeah. So, you're gonna, as part of this, you're gonna do a giveaway, right? For people
Yeah.
to comment.
If you leave a comment, I'm going to give about 10 ebooks away, and you get your choice of any of my indie ebooks. And even the one that's World War II that came out, it's my most recent, basically. Yeah, so I'm going to pick 10 people out of the comments. So be sure to leave one.
Yeah, so we've got lots of comments scrolling through, but I wanted to make sure people knew that that was an option. We're getting thumbs up on that. People always love giveaways.
Yay.
Yeah, that's so fun. So when you've got all these books, what's your favorite genre to write?
It's a historical romance. Well, I just love romance. I just finished writing a mystery, and one of my complaints about mysteries, like Hallmark mysteries or whatever, is it's
Yeah,
80% mystery suspense, it's 20% maybe romance, and I am
yeah,
just a romance queen. I'm sorry. So I decided to write a mystery suspense that's 50-50. So I just, and it is definitely 50-50. Their emphasis is
yeah,
more on the romance than the suspense, but both are there. But historical romance, I absolutely love. I love writing family sagas because I'm from a family of 13, 10 girls, 3 boys,
wow,
and it was a very dysfunctional family. Which again, I don't know if I mentioned this, I guess on your private page, but
yeah,
I encourage anybody in the audience, if you want a free ebook, they're doing Isle of Hope, my award-winning novel that's loosely based on my own dysfunctional relationship with my estranged father. It's over on Misty's Book Nook on Facebook, and we're halfway through the month, so you still have enough half of the month to read it. And it's there's no pressure or stress, but I'm giving a free ebook of that book to anybody that wants it and joins Misty's, and it's free. I mean, plus she's got a whole lineup. Probably, are you on that list? Did I get that?
I haven't heard from her yet, but I hope to be on the list
But you were
soon.
on the list. You sent me, I mean,
Yeah.
you and Tamara and all kinds of, great authors. So you guys, you should sign up. And if you do it this month, you'll get a free ebook. So
That's
anyway, that's,
awesome.
yeah. So what was your
So,
question? I forgot.
yeah. So, someone was asking, do you remember this spoof on the Carol Burnett show of where she was
Yes.
pretending to be Charlotte, making the curtains into the dress?
I just die when I see that. That is so adorable. I love Carol Burnett
Yeah.
anyway, but that is just priceless. It is.
Yeah. And so there's all these comments about, oh yeah. I mean, I think if you didn't watch anything else on the Carol Burnett show, you've probably seen
You
that
probably saw that. Yeah.
because it's so spot on and perfect.
Uh-huh.
And so Corky's saying that you're a new author to her, which is so fun.
Hi, Courtney. All right.
Yeah, Julie writes amazing romance. And it is true that, when you're writing a mystery, especially if it's like for Guidepost or Hallmark or someone like that,
Yeah,
there's a formula that you have to follow.
sure.
But at the same time with romance, there's a formula as well, to a certain extent, depending on who you're writing for. But what's like a promise that you make to readers in your books? What's something that they should expect, regardless of what genre it is?
Okay. My tagline is passion with a purpose.
Mhm.
And when I first came out with the Passion Most Pure, I remember my agent's going, she says, well, there's not a lot of Christian, places that'll really look at this. It's a little bit what I like. I'm a baby boomer, okay? And quite frankly, I get tired of the young people having all the fun. So all of my books, every single one of my books has a two-tiered love story. You got the main young hero and heroine, but then you have a subordinate hero and heroine who are older. They're either the mother and
True.
father, like in A Passion Most Pure, or they are, I mean, every single book of mine has that. Okay. And my books, they only have kisses, but there are bedroom scenes. And what I mean by that is there's nothing more than kisses in the bedroom scenes, but I have so many lessons I learned the hard way in my marriage. I've been married 43 years, going on 43 years, have one of the best marriages I've ever seen. Okay, I'm just going to say that right out there.
Yeah.
And I learned so much. So every one of my books has lessons that I learned in my marriage, and the characters experience them and go through them. And I love doing that. I just love it. So that's probably why I really enjoy writing the historical family sagas, because I can do that.
Yeah. Well, and that's true. Now that you say it, I'm like, oh, yeah, there was like in the original O'Connor trilogy or 4 books, there was this thing going on with the parents, and you've
Yeah.
got all those layers. And so that made it really that family feel, even though there was a definite, younger
Yeah.
romance going on at the
Well,
same
in Revell, when Revell bought the book, they bought the series. They said they'd never seen anything like that. They said that really caught their eyes. And you had asked me about my books. My books are more passionate, but they're done with a purpose. Frankly, I get real sick of things like 50 Shades of Grey. I
Yeah.
mean, do you know it's one of the top selling books in the world? What's wrong with this picture? I mean, come on. God gave us romance and sex, and the world uses it to just, I mean, it's just wrong. So I like to take romance based on, like, in Song of Solomon, that type of passion, and I put it in my stories, but it's all according to God's precepts, and it's just kisses,
Yeah.
but I do write a kiss pretty mean.
Yeah, that's true. So, and there are a couple comments here that I think you would enjoy. Several other people have said you're new to them, which I love being able to use this to
Yeah.
kind of as a forum to
Thank you,
introduce
Cara. Yeah.
my reader friends to some of my favorite writers. But then Mary Bruce says that she's reading Isle of Hope for the second time this month.
Yeah,
And someone else
God
has
bless her. Mary Ruth, you are a doll.
and then someone else actually, and I'm not seeing it now, but Linda Wagner said that Isle of Hope is ministering to her. So just
Linda, I'm
the
so
idea that
glad.
it's always encouraging as a writer because you put so much out there. There's so much work
Yeah,
behind the scenes that nobody sees. And then to know when one of your books really is resonating at a deep level with people is
yeah,
always so, so encouraging.
yeah.
Lynn says that she loves your book so much and can't wait for your new stories. What made you decide to do a mystery? And well, we'll start with that one and then we'll go to the next question.
Well, you know what? I don't like mysteries. I'm gonna just put that out there right now. I never read them. Okay. What? Oh yeah, yeah. Yours I have read. Don't get me wrong. Now, not all of them. Okay, but I have. Yes. And your World War II's I've read too.
Yeah.
But I just didn't. I started watching Hallmark movies because all the romance Hallmarks we saw them already, and I thought, oh, boring. He goes, well, there's a movie and a movie and mystery is what do they call them or something. I go,
Yeah.
I
Something
roll
like
my
that.
eyes. Well, I don't really want to watch it. Aurora Tea Garden and all, but we did, and I got hooked, and that's where it started. I thought, I can do this.
Yeah.
You have to start it. I don't know if you do this, but I had to start at the back because you have to have the plot and the murder, whatever it is, and you got to backtrack with sew everything in. So I had to write it kind of backwards and then start over again. Did you do that?
Well, when all the guidepost mysteries that I've written, you have to have kind of the shell of the plot at the
Yeah,
beginning with your red herrings and all that before
yes.
you get approval to start writing. So most of my like mysteries have been pretty heavily plotted from the beginning. So then
Okay,
you don't have to go backwards.
okay.
But Stars in the Night, which I thought I had a copy here somewhere. Oh, there it is. But that's my first World War II suspense.
Oh,
I
I love
remember
that.
sitting in Panera with 20 pages left on the phone with Robin Miller going, who did it? And I had it, but I was like, I'm not sure it fits. And then as I talked through it with her, waiting for the police to arrive because I'm discussing a murder on the phone, I realized it was all there. But
Yeah.
it's like I got to that point and I'm like, I think I know who did it. Did I really? And then as I went back through and read, I'm like, yeah, it's all here. But that was
Wow.
a very uncomfortable position.
I
Like,
would think so. Yeah. That's happened to me a couple
me,
of times.
and I'm not 100% sure what happened. So,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite character from your O'Connor series?
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, Charity O'Connor in book one, she is the vixen. Okay,
Yes, yes.
she's the sister that I actually got letters from emails from people asking me to slap Charity for him. Another one asked me to they wanted to see her killed or maimed. And they hated her. They hated her. In fact, my editor and my agent, because she was going to be book two, and she is book two. And my agent and editor said, oh gosh, Julie, I don't know if even you can pull this off to make her, but I did, I think,
Yes.
I love her. But the reason I love her is she has the biggest, best arc growth spiritually of
Mhm.
any other character. And there's 15 people in this family, okay? And but Charity, she ends up being fun. She makes me laugh in every scene she's in, even the serious ones. I mean, I never knew I was funny. I
Yeah.
mean, I just didn't think I was funny at all. But I started reading, writing Charity, and I thought, well, she's got to get it from somebody, right? I mean, so I must be funny, But
Yeah.
she's a hoot. I love her, and I love her too because she was the real sex pot. She was the one that was always tempting, the temptress,
Yeah.
and that's how I was before I was a Christian. And so then I became the main character, Faith, who is really spiritual and very into God. Then I became Faith when I came to Christ at the age of 23. So there's both facets of my personality in there.
Oh, that's fun. And
Yeah.
it is, sometimes it's fun when we see like through a character and we're like, oh, I really am kind of funny. There's this part of me that I didn't recognize.
Yeah, does that shock you too? You know you're funny, so but I
Oh,
didn't.
no, no, no. Because one of my brothers always told me I was born without a funny bone. So I've always been like, oh, I'm not funny. And then I'd say something in class and my students would laugh and I'd be like, that was funny. And so now I'm like, okay, I guess I am kind of funny, but I don't think of it like Jenny B. Jones is like, in my
Right.
mind, effortlessly funny. Even her emails are funny.
Yes, and Mary Keneally too.
Yes, yes, exactly. They're just these people who, the way they see the world, I'm like, I wish I could do that.
Me too.
Um, but it is, and then you'll read something you wrote, and you're right. It's one of those things where you go, oh, well, it came from somewhere, so it must be in me. somehow.
laughing at it, so it must be funny, right? You know?
Yeah, exactly. So Lynn said she's rereading Passion Most Pure.
Oh, she
It,
is
it
that Lynn
inspired,
Harrison?
yeah, and she said it inspired and entertained her at a real low point in her life. So thank you so much for listening to God's plan and becoming a writer.
Oh, God bless you, Lynn. I love you to pieces.
And Tracy said that she loves charity, and it is fun to see that redemption.
Really? Stacy said that?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. That's exactly how I feel too. And what's their favorite out of the O'Connor men? My favorite is Mitch and Luke, but I don't know if anybody, I don't know how many people have read them or what your favorite was, you know?
Gosh, I don't, I always have a harder time remembering the guys' names,
Oh, do you?
especially with my heroes.
Hey,
It's so funny because I'll be like, I'll grab a book because you're getting ready to do a book club or whatever. I'm like, okay, what are the characters' names again? I mean, you know how it
that's
is.
funny. I wouldn't
In
have.
other books, and you're like, wait a second. Okay, it's Emily and Reed. Reed, that's his name.
Yeah, well, and don't you, Kira, don't you change the names several times before you get to the end of the book? I do.
I do.
So my beta readers go, well, who is this guy? And I'm
Yes,
going, oh, that was the old guy's name. That was his old name.
yes. And it doesn't happen. Usually I kind of have a pretty good idea, but there have been a couple where I kind of put a name on them and I'm like, it doesn't fit yet. I'm not quite sure who they
Yeah.
are. And then it'll be like line edits. And they're like, who is this character? And I'm like,
I do it all the time.
so it's always interesting when that happens. Tracy says she loves Patrick, but Mitch is perfect for charity. So
Oh, I agree. Thank you.
it's always fun. Lynn says Stephen is her favorite. And Joy's like, it cracks me up how many authors can't remember their character names. Yep.
Who said that? Who said that?
Joy did. So
Oh,
Joy did.
yeah.
So, and I've written 34 books.
Yeah.
How many
Wow.
have you written? I mean, you've written a
I've
lot.
only written 26, so
Only, but you're
well,
catching
but
up with
is it
that.
right? Yeah, that's not many. No, my books are they're door stoppers though, because my latest book is the one where is on sale for 99 cents right now. The World War II book that's 520 pages long.
Oh my word.
Yeah, but they actually kind of made the type a little smaller so it wouldn't be so bad.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
because most of these, yours were definitely thicker, but this was like 340 pages, and they're like, "Can you cut it down any?" And I'm like, "No."
I know. And Isle of Hope, Ravel wanted to buy it, and it's because that's an Isle of Hope isn't my indie book, but they wanted to buy it. But they said, Julie, you're going to have to cut it down. Can you cut it in half? And they wanted me to tone down the spirituality as well, because I'm pretty spiritual in my books,
Yeah, you
and
are.
that's really not the thing today. I mean, because they're trying to broaden the net, and those on the fringe that are more secular readers, they're not going to want to have all the deep spiritual messages. But see, that's why I write. That's what I
Yeah.
love, So that's why Isle of Hope is a ministry book to me more than it's just a novel. That's why I'm giving it away to anybody that joins Misty's Book Nook in ebook. So
Yeah. No, and that's great. For those of you who have popped in since the last time she mentioned that a while ago, this month, if you join Misty's Book Nook, she's giving you a copy. Julie is giving you a copy of her Isle of Hope, and it's 520 pages. So you're getting your money's worth because it's free and it's long.
well, it's I don't know if it's 520. I guess it is. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I forget which one is that long.
but it's also the one that people have been commenting on as really ministered to them. And also, Julie is giving away 10 ebooks for picking from people who comment. So definitely keep the comments coming. Joy says, I pray that we don't lose those faith elements in books because it is so important.
Yeah.
And Lynn said she also likes Gabrielle O'Connor, have known someone that hid their tender bruised heart under a tough shell. And that's so true. So many people do walk around with this tough facade, and it's because they're really wounded on the inside. So is there a character that you've written that went one direction when you really expected them to go this way, and then they just refused to cooperate and they went a different direction?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, Lizzie in book 3, I mean, she went a little bit different than what I wanted. The one that really surprised me was Luke Mcgee, who is my favorite hero I've written. Okay.
Mhm.
He's in A Hope Undaunted, which is the 4th O'Connor book.
Mhm.
And he was supposed to just be in book 3. I introduced him when he's a kid, and he was just supposed to be a cameo.
Mhm.
But when I started writing his cameo and the page that he was on, he just grabbed my heart. Oh my gosh, he ended up becoming an integral part of that book, and then he's the hero in the next book. So, some of them just force their way in.
It is, it's true. And or they stand up and say, I need my own book.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
fine. They may take the role that you think they are, but I'll never forget when Amanda Bostic, my editor, was reading Beyond Justice, and she's like, Savannah needs her own book. And Savannah was the mentor character, and I knew she'd be in a bunch of them, but I hadn't really thought about her having her own book. And then that became Flight Risk. And it
Oh,
was so
cool.
fun because, kind of like you said, where you're writing the kind of the generational romance.
Yes.
Savannah's turning 40, and it's kind of a second chance romance. And it was so fun and challenging in a different way because I'm like, both the hero and heroine are in their just turning 40 or early 40s. They know who
Awesome.
they
Yeah,
are, they've
that's
got that
awesome.
career. And so it was a different type of romance because instead of I want someone to go through life with it was, do I really want to give up my freedom and my independence
Yeah.
to allow someone else into my life in addition to the tough shells
Mhm,
that were
mhm.
protecting wounds from the past?
Yeah.
A lot of people commenting that they love having books like yours that have that strong faith element and hope you'll keep writing them, and that they love long books and series.
Well, this is
So
my crowd, I'll tell you.
yeah, this is definitely your crowd. Someone else agreed that they loved Savannah's story, that that they thought that was a really good one and strong one. So yeah, this is your fan club, even with the people who are discovering you for the first time. So I love
Oh,
it.
that's awesome. Tell
So
them to go over to
tomorrow,
Mississippi. I'll give them a free book.
yeah, yeah. So tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day,
Yes.
and you Irish American characters. So
Mhm.
what is something that we should all know as we get ready for St. Patrick's Day?
Well, about St. Patrick's Day, let's see. Well, I can tell you a cute little story. I write Irish family sagas, so my grandmother's name was Kavanaugh, so I knew I was Irish. I always thought I was a quarter Irish, so I really liked that. Okay, well, so
Yeah.
I did ancestry, our heritage DNA thing, and it came, and I told all my readers on my blog about it. I'll let you know what I am, and it comes back zero Irish, zero. I
Really?
was devastated. I didn't even write it on my blog. Well, then for Christmas that next year, I got my husband an ancestry DNA, which is actually a more thorough one because you have to spit into a tube for like 20 minutes. It's like
Yeah.
ridiculous. The other one was a swab, so that's not as good. And I did one for myself again, and it came back I was 30% Irish. So, so yay. So I that makes me feel good because I just love anything Irish.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. And with a last name like Kavanaugh, it seems like it's a no-brainer.
It exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So Lynn asked, did you enjoy writing about World War II? And she asked for both of us. And I love World War II. And I've always said, although I'm getting older, but I'm like an old soul in a young body, where the time, the movies, just
Yes.
all of it, I love that time period. But did you enjoy writing
I
a book set during World War II?
I didn't think I would, but I knew it had to be during World War II. It wasn't my choice. It was just how the timeline.
Yeah. And
But after I did, I just absolutely adored it. I mean, like I said, I had to learn all kinds of research, everything. I mean, something as simple as I have a scene where they're in a jeep together and they're fighting, and she wants to, she's trying to convince him, and I wanted to have her just go over by him, but in a jeep. There's a gear shift, and there's bucket seat. You can't do that. And then I was having him do the key, just grind the key. There's no keys in a jeep. I mean, there's a foot pedal, and there are no doors. I have him leaning against the door, and he'd fall out. So there was a lot of that stuff that I had to really, like I said, I did research probably on every page, and sometimes every paragraph. So,
yeah.
and I enjoyed it because you know why? It was during the year that I finished it. It was the 75th anniversary of D-Day,
Yeah.
VE Day, and D-Day, and VJ Day.
Yeah.
So that
All
was
of
that
that.
was very, very cool. Yeah. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things where I found YouTube can be your friend because you'll find all these old videos. Like for Stars in the Night, I had them flying, and I had to find a museum for like American Airlines that then sent me photocopies of the timetables for where flights were flying between different places and what airplane. And then I hopped on YouTube to see, okay, what did the plane look like?
Yes.
And, and so I've got this scene where they're playing cards at a table and then they lay down because they change it into, like little beds you could lay on.
Yeah.
And all of that was based on a video, like a newsreel of here's what this
Cool.
looks like.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, but it was so different from what we would expect. And like everyone, it looked like you were like in a conversion van where everybody's got these bucket seats that just swivel
Yeah.
between the tables so you could talk to people and all this. And I'm
Yeah.
like, we don't fly that way anymore.
No, no. Yeah, it's pretty cool, you know. I used a lot of videos from YouTube on how to fly a plane and
Yeah.
how she's supposed to do it, and what was fun, lots of little tidbits like anything that happens in the airline WASP portion, which is the
Yeah.
first part of the book. It's all taken from what actually happened. Like she actually stows away on a medical ship to go over to the front. But do you know who did that?
Yeah.
What's his name? Hemingway's wife. What was her name now? Well, anyway,
Sally Fitzgerald or something like that.
it was it just left my brain. But she did that. She snuck on because they wouldn't let her go over. And she snuck on and hid in a bathroom, which is what I had my character do.
Yeah.
and she she was over there on the front lines on D-Day when they landed. Yeah. And so I just took everything real I could find and tried to implement it as best I could, you know.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges with Shadowed by Grace, which is my Monuments Men book.
Yes, yes, I
And
love that.
and it was I love the book. It was so much fun to write. But the easy part was the hero because I knew he was a monuments man. So that
Yeah,
was easy. But
really easy.
coming up with a career or a job that would put a woman on the front lines or right behind the front lines was
Yeah,
not easy. And I
yeah,
didn't want a nurse because Sarah Sundin was doing the nurses at that time. And I didn't, I was like, I had ideas for future books, but then I found that there were these women war photographers, and there
yeah.
weren't a bunch
I
of
just
them,
thought that
but there
was
were
so
just
cool.
enough that I was like, okay. And one of them was actually in the Pacific on the islands. And I was like, that's crazy. But
Wow.
there were women who were following along on the European front. And I'm like, okay, that's what she's going to do.
Yeah.
But it took so long to find that. And I was like, but it matters. You can't just have an American woman show up a
No,
mile behind
you
the
have
front
to
line.
back every,
Oh,
when you write historicals, you have to be dead on because the readers will catch you. And if they catch you,
yeah, and they'll
they,
let you know.
they lose respect for you and it diminishes the story for them. It does. So you really have to be careful, you know.
All right. And Linda, thank you for saying that you're reading Buckeye Promises. I hope you're enjoying that series. Let's see. We got a couple more questions and we'll wrap up. Lynn says she also loves your Heart of San Francisco series. And Cara Putman also want to do a shout out for your World War II series in Ohio. Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
she loves World War II.
Oh my gosh. That's one of the things I want to get back to writing at some point, just for fun, because I
Oh,
have so
sure.
many, like one of my ideas is a WASP idea, and there's just so much cool stuff that happened.
Yes.
Corey said, I am so thankful for the World War II books that have become more prevalent. Her dad was a bombardier, but wouldn't talk about the war. Yeah. And so one of my regrets is that I never asked one of my grandpas. I just didn't kind of fall in love with World War II until, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I never thought to ask him questions until after he died. And he was stationed at the Pentagon. And I'm like, oh, I would
Oh,
love to know what he was
Sarah.
doing.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, missed opportunity. And then my other grandpa is actually the basis for the hero in my first book because he was the only son of a farmer, got drafted 4 times and kept getting sent home because he was the only
really?
son of a farmer. And
Yeah.
so I got to thinking about, okay, what would that do when you're ready to fight, you're healthy, and you keep getting sent home, and just kind of playing with all of those ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Heidi's like, readers know how to Google. Yes, you do. And as a reader, I always love those books where I'm so swept into the history that I begin to wonder which parts are real. And I then go and Google to see, because I'm like,
Yes.
how did I know that authors really transported me?
That's why I like in the end, in the back, to put what actually was
Yeah,
all true, you know.
yeah, exactly. Here's the stack of research that I did so
I
that you
didn't just throw this in here.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much to everybody who's popped in. Don't forget to leave a comment so that Julie can put you in the random drawing for 10
Yep.
of her ebooks.
I'll announce it tomorrow
Yeah,
on
and we'll do that tomorrow.
this video. I'll put it on. I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
awesome. And then all month in March, she's giving away a copy of her ebook, Isle of Hope, if you join Mindy's Book Nook, which
yeah.
is a Facebook page or group. And so she's also the featured author on that this month. So thank you, Julie, so
You're
much for
welcome.
joining us.
Thank you for
It was so,
having me. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, it was so fun to catch up, and it's always good to talk books.
I know. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much, Kara.
Yeah, thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. And I'll be back next week on Tuesday with another one of these book talks. Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye, Kara.